coming here today. So the innovation session for that, the presentation is from data and analytics team. So representing the team, I'm Roshan, and I'm the only QA of data and analytics team. So the topic for this innovation session is the data and analytics in QA perspective. So it's basically a success story which data and analytics team followed and succeeded in using. So thought of sharing it with you all. Thought it would be helpful for all of your projects and for projects to come as well. So I'll start on. So first of all, let me explain why would we need a special approach for data and analytics. Basically, to sum up, it's because of the overall challenge for QA and developer in such a project. I'll explain to you what we do as in a project, and to achieve total quality of product in all aspects. So that was the two main reasons why we thought of maintaining a new QA approach. Going forward, if you discuss on what are the drawbacks of having the usual QA approach in ETL. So what data and analytics team deals with is ETL, that actually means data extraction, transformation and load. That's what the ETL means. So basically the extract, that part, has application logics that will decide what data to pick from particular source DB. For example, we are picking this set of live merchants from Leapset's master DB. Let's say that kind of a logic. And transformation part has most of the application logics, which will then decide what would you turn this data into, or what sort of calculation that goes into this in order to finally load it into a particular format, into a designated destination database. So that is what basically ETL does. So understanding the magnitude of each task, it's very apparent that that particular transform section has a lot of logics and calculations when it comes to ETL. So the main challenge for QA was to actually drill down and to better understand the complexity that happens within the transformation part. So starting from that problem statement, there were certain limitations for QA. For any quality assurance engineer, this sort of things come because since it is much more complex, what everybody would first try to do is to do a black box testing. That is kind of an approach. Black box testing approach does is that you would not bother about the internal mechanism of sort of a software component, but rather you verify the output of it with the expected output with a given input. So you try to match that and verify whether the component has performed its task as accordingly. So the limitation of it is that being in such a state will not give the QA the proper capability of understanding a real bug. All what you left out with is to know that okay, it didn't calculate well, or it didn't calculate right, or it did not work at all. No, that kind of two outcomes are possible in QA's mind, but QA do not know that why it failed, why it caused, what are the real bugs in it, because you only see it once you process and have it on the other end. So and plus, as I said, the root causes you would never even understand why it happened actually, because if you understand the root cause, that you would have think that this cause may be affecting other components as well, and you may perceive that okay, in future this sort of bugs could arise as well, because you would know the root cause. But if you don't know the root cause, it's very hard to judge. And even by knowing, if you know the root cause, you can even foresee some of the bugs that could occur in the future as well. So, but here the limitation for QA is that you do not have the big idea on the root cause, so most of that limitation is cut out from you. And again the time consumption, because unlike typical application, where we test a web service or a certain component, we can basically test the application with a known set of data, just input data and see the output without a big delay on the processing part. But ETL's 3 jobs mainly takes some time. That is around, for us, the near real-time ETL actually took around 1 day of extraction, transformation and loading time. So that means if you want to test a particular set of data, you would test it at this point and you have to wait for 1 day to process and to come out, give you an output which you then have to verify. So because of the traditional approach, so but one limitation is that it takes a huge amount of your time. If you find a bug on the way, then again you have to fix and you have to, dedicate a lot of time and going back and forth in order to fix that. So that is again, time consumption is a big limitation for as a QA, and it affects the whole team as well. So let me explain you the new QA approach. So in this approach, what you see at the bottom, the plan, design, implementation and execute is the basic fundamental of quality assurance. That is the typical QA process. So here, please understand the QA process is not harmed at all, but rather the approach is different, right? So the same thing happens. So in the above, you can see the developer panel, and this is the QA engineer's time span. So it covers through from start to the end. So each stage, it shows you the collaboration between the developer and the QA engineer. So the approach actually you can sum up into one particular tagline, that is the approach which collaborates developer and QA to contribute it to the total quality of the product. So let me explain to you in simple terms how it works. Basically, as a developer and a QA, once you get the requirement specification at your hand, so what you both do is you go through it, you both study it, right? So, so then again, after studying it individually at your own time, then again the first approach that we use is to QA and dev collaborates together, and you get to know from developer the development plan. So it is input for you, developer's development plan. So that by knowing that, you would know what are the complex components that developer will deal with, and at what priority level will he develop these components. And you basically know his plans, you basically know his approach. So knowing that, it will give the QA a better understanding of features in a technical point of view, because sometimes the BA document may not reveal it in a technical point of view, rather than it's in a requirement view. So you will better understand the features in technical point, and again as a QA, there's a in between this time, he always has a chance to study the particular data that the real system will deal with. For example, if you're trying to deploy this in a production environment, you can still do a little bit of voluntary study on what sort of data complications exist in a current production environment. Because by knowing the health of the data, you could obviously know that if you put this in production, if there's such kind of a different data, it might cause an anomaly or a bug, or it will result in some unexpected circumstances. So by knowing that, you can plan it ahead. You can foresee the data, since you know that it's going to be deployed there, and you can make actually point out the developer these sort of things may come in the future if we proceed the way we are, or we can discuss it and make little improvements. So based on that, then again my input, actually QA's input to developer is to possible improvements and fine tunes. That is in the planning stage. So this is a progressive cycle that goes through until both developer and QA feels comfortable in their own areas that this sort of a product, this sort of a development will cause no known issues. So after moving from planning stage to design stage, meanwhile after this stage, the QA would definitely design his test cases and test data. So up to this point, he has prior knowledge of the technical view as well as the destination data health, how it behaves. So by looking at that, he can make a better decision on designing test cases and test data. So he will basically share it with developer. So the idea of sharing it with developer is that to make it more purposeful for developer to make his dev testing, because that will give him a better direction to know, okay, QA point of view, these scenarios are covered, should be covered. So as a developer, he should also make sure that he will incorporate those scenarios in his developer testing, so that when it comes to QA, it will not be a bug, and if it becomes a bug, then again it takes your own time to fix and come in another bug fix circle. So to avoid that issue, it is well and early revealed to the developer, so developer can take whatever the inputs from that for his dev testing. So once after he does all the dev testing and move forward, it's a time to, in implementation and execution phase, for them to evaluate themselves by knowing the feedback. They run and at the proper official QA release, once after the QA does his QA cycle, they will get to know that most of issues that would have occurred has been avoided because we use such a sort of a approach. So that is basically what it does in each phase. So let me explain very simply the benefits for QA by using this approach. It's very evident that, as you see, it's a better understanding of underlying logics, and you can design better test cases. You can design better test data as well. Rather than the typical set of data, make it challenging for the developer to close all the bugs without making any probable issues coming up. So, and also it makes you anticipate possible issues that might result in bugs in real environment. As I said, by studying the actual data, by studying the actual configurations, you would then know people better be planning for this sort of data and this sort of configuration. And again, it helps you with better time utilization. Whatever you do, it is a quality time that you put in, so the quality of the product largely increases. So for the developer also there is benefits. It is that QA, he get to know the perspective of QA, and it helps him to minimize his bugs and whatever that would cause issues, and improve quality of work, and helps the developer to it makes his dev testing much more purposeful rather than just to see whether it gives the right response. It goes a bit beyond that. He's in line with the purpose of entire QA as well. So, and it again for his side, it minimizes the time taken for bug fix cycles. So that is again a plus time for him. So benefit for the organization, again it's important, and for the team, whoever implements this. For the organization, it improves the overall quality of the product. At the end, all we work for is towards the better quality of the product. So that is the main focus of this approach. So it will definitely have a great impact and better utilization of time and resources as well. And again, it definitely builds coherence between the team members, and improves the dynamics between QA and dev. Rather than working as the two separate streams, they can get together and make sure that whatever they are doing is to the best interest of the company, best interest of the product's quality. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer.